Hey everyone, this is Ryan Scott. We're going to be going live here in just a couple minutes. We're waiting for other people to join in. So just sit tight. We'll be starting in just a few seconds. Okay, it is 10 o'clock Pacific time, noon Central. Hi everyone, I'm Ryan Scott, and today we're going to be talking about SEO. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be a great time with you. This is our first time trying to do live streaming training like this. I know Kevin tried to do a couple before, but now you've got me. Kevin is out of town, and I'm going to be doing some growth marketing workshops over the next few weeks, and I think it's going to be really exciting. So one of the things that we want to talk about today is SEO. We're going to go back here to the desktop. We're going to look at SEO. What is SEO in 2019? We're going to jump right into it. So SEO in 2019 is really no different than it has been for the last several years. Google has come out with all kinds of updates. They've come out with Panda, they've come out with Penguin, they've come out with Hummingbird, and all these different animals that Google has come out with some algorithmic updates on. And the reality is that over time they have told you all kinds of stuff, and Google comes out with all kinds of tactics. And then you had, Moz doing the Whiteboard Fridays, and SEO became this huge, complex thing where you had to do this and that, and you couldn't have more than one page and over all these different terms. It was just, SEO's become this complex thing, which is really what marketers do. We complicate everything so that we can have job security, right? That's kind of all that we do. But in the reality of it is that SEO is really the same kind of principles. Now, gimmicks don't work. Gimmicks, if you are trying to game the system, if you're trying to just take advantage of Google and you're trying to come up with all these different things that are going to get you a quick win, then yes, SEO tactics get complex, and yes, they go out of style, and yes, the things you do today could end up hurting you yesterday. But for the most part, when it comes to SEO, it's the same over and over again every year. Google has been really good at removing the spam, penalizing the spam, all of the gimmicks, and then also maintaining the things that work really well. Google's very clear about what works very well. If you don't listen to them, but actually watch what they do, they'll come out with updates all the time telling you, now we're doing this, now we're doing that, now this works. A lot of times it's been proven over and over again that what they say doesn't necessarily equate to what the algorithm does. And if you watch what the algorithm has done over the last decade, it's been very consistent with what it wants from your website. That's what we're going to talk about today. How do we give Google what Google wants so that Google will rank our pages over our competitors, bring us a lot of traffic, which would then turn into leads for us. And then if we get leads, of course, then that would turn into customers. So at the very beginning, one of the things that I want to make sure that we agree on is that we should just say no to the gimmicks. Say no to gimmicks. Gimmicks never work more long term. You could do a gimmick right now, and if you go to like blackhatworld.com, you can look at all these black hatters that are trying all these different things. They're selling link networks, and you have the guest blog networks that are going around. Those things were gimmicks, and Google has smacked them down every time. Google smacked down the likes of Expedia. Google will smack you down as well whenever you're trying to manipulate its algorithm to working unnaturally. And that's what we want to say no to. Just say no to all the gimmicks. Everything that comes out that says, oh, now you got to do this, now you got to do that, now it's different, you have to do this. Most of the time, the things that are new and different are gimmicks. And you have to look at the thing that's working long term. Because here's the deal, you don't want to invest all of your time in optimizing your website, optimizing content, investing in content, and turn around in 6 months and have it not working. What you want is something that's going to work year in, year out, and that's why you have to look at the long term, what Google's algorithm has said that it wanted, because it's not going to change, right? If you're providing quality to Google and you're giving it what it wants, 12 months from now it's still going to be working. Okay, so we're going to say no to the gimmicks. What we're talking about today is not a gimmick. It's the time-tested thing that actually works. And I'm going to just open the hood, show you the engine that Lean Labs has been using for years. So when it comes to SEO, great SEO is timeless. It does not change. It's basically this: create helpful content, optimize that content for search, and then build authority signals to that content. Regardless of what everybody says, SEO in 2019, SEO going into 2020, is still creating great content, optimizing that content for search, and then building authority signals to that content. That's all SEO is. It's all SEO's been for years. Now, a lot of SEOs will tell you, oh, backlinks, you have to be careful. You have to build backlinks this way or that way. The truth is that backlinks, even though Google has killed the gimmicks and penalized them to kingdom come, the truth is that backlinks still work. That's why SEO still build backlinks. Content still works. Optimizing content for search still works. It all still works. And I'm going to show you exactly the engine that we use to produce that content, to optimize that content, and to increase our rankings over time by giving Google what they want. But the main thing is that great SEO is timeless. You publish, you optimize what you publish, and you build authority signals. It's really as simple as that. And now before we just jump into all of the tactics, I want you to know that we do have a little bit of authority here. We've been doing this for a long time. So I want to show you kind of our aggregate growth. This is all of our clients in the first 8 quarters that we start working with them. That's 2 years. Within the first 2 years, you can see that most of our results quarter over quarter are pretty astounding. 47% in quarter 1, 60% in quarter 2, 46% quarter over quarter growth in Q3, 49% in Q4, 41 in Q5, 35 in Q6, then 45 in Q7, and 64 in Q8. Quarter over quarter growth is the hallmark of great SEO. Quarter over quarter growth in organic traffic. That's traffic coming from search engines, right? This is our track record. If we started working with your company over 2 years, you'll be added to this aggregate, and this is kind of what we've done over all of our clients put together. So experiencing this much growth is one thing. Actually doing it is another. And one of the things that I get from people all the time is I'm doing content, I'm optimizing the content, I'm doing what everybody says, but I'm still not getting results. I'm not seeing traffic grow. It's kind of stagnant. I hear that all of the time, and we have to deal with that with our new clients as well. When they come in and we're saying, okay, we want to publish, we want to optimize what we publish, we want to do it consistently, and then we want to build authority with that. A lot of people, when they first start, they're like, but that doesn't work. We've tried it before. It doesn't work. The truth is it does work. You just have to know what you're doing. And most of the time, what I see a disconnect when people are creating even really, really great content, but they're not growing their traffic, it's because of one reason. And that reason is because they are building thought leadership content and they're not building keyword-driven content. They're creating thought leadership and they're trying to SEO thought leadership to pieces, and they put all the keywords in, they do all this kind of stuff to their thought leadership piece, but it's still not ranking, it's still not building traffic. And the reason for that is that thought leadership, by definition, is extending it's extending the conversation beyond where people are at right now. Leadership, you're going before they get there. So you're bringing people into something new. Whereas keyword-driven content is in the now, what people are talking about right now, right? So if I'm a leader, I'm taking them somewhere where they haven't been yet, or they don't know they need to go. But if I'm keyword driven, I am sitting there in the conversation with them where they're at. I'm not trying to lead them off in this different thing. I'm actually taking their questions. And that's really what it's all about. It's questions. Behind every Google search, if you want to rank for any kind of Google search, behind every Google search is a question. There is a question behind everything that you enter into Google. Just think of the last thing that you used Google to kind of discover. What was the question in your mind? What was the problem that you wanted to solve? You know, if you search for cross trainer tennis shoes, or the best cross trainer tennis shoes, the question in your mind is, what are the best? Which one should I buy? There is a question behind every single Google search, and even most of the times through YouTube search. And that question needs to be addressed in your content if you want that piece of content to rank for that search term, right? It's as simple as whatever the searcher wants, provide what they want, and then you'll rank when you optimize it right. So what question does my title promise an answer to? If you're going to rank in Google, your title needs to promise an answer to the question that's driving that search, right? And you need to make sure that your title, this is one of the things, the most common mistake that I see people make when they're trying to rank content on Google, is that their title doesn't speak to the question, doesn't speak to the answer to the question that people are actually asking. So let's look at an example of this. One example is, how much does it cost to build a house? Well, of course, you can't answer that question because it depends on the square footage. It depends on how many bedrooms. It depends on what kind of roof you're going to put on it. It depends on where you're building, what kind of foundation you need. There's all kinds of variables that go into answering the question, how much does it cost to build a house? Yet 33,100 people every month search for how much does it cost to build a house. And if you look at the close variables, there's thousands and thousands more asking this question. Why are people asking the question, how much does it cost to build a house? Of course they know it depends, right? There is no way, you can't say $75.99, right? That it just doesn't work. Because if you quote, $300,000 to build a house, what if somebody comes with a, 40,000 square foot mansion with 5 in-ground pools? Then suddenly you're back. Everybody understands it depends. So what's the question that people are asking when they put that into Google? They don't want a price. They want to understand the pricing, right? And so this is one example of that I see oftentimes. People will write a piece of content and try to optimize it for search, but they'll make their title this creative thought leadership kind of thing, like 5 things contractors don't want you to know about new home construction bids, or they'll come up with some other creative thing trying to hook the audience. And all of that's great. There is a place for thought leadership content, but when you're trying to rank, it doesn't work. The keyword driven title would be, how much does it cost to build a house? It's exact match, right? Sometimes you have to get a little bit creative. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the main thing is that you have to understand, what kind of content am I creating? Am I creating thought leadership? Am I trying to drive the conversation where it is not yet at? Or am I trying to answer questions in the current conversation? And of course, you want to answer, if you're going to build organic traffic, you have to answer questions in the current conversation. And so there is a place for thought leadership content. Now, here's the pros and cons. If you're looking at, should I create thought leadership or should I create keyword-driven content? The thought leadership content performs very well on social. So if you want something that's going to go viral, if you want something that's going to get a lot of interaction, a lot of shares, a lot of social media attention, thought leadership is what's going to get you that. But thought leadership is not going to perform really well organically. But keyword-driven content performs very well organically, but it does not share well, right? So if someone has a question let's see, how to cook spaghetti. This is a horrible question because we should be talking B2B, but that's the question that popped into my mind. How do you cook spaghetti? if someone answers that question, they can provide help, and maybe they turn them into a customer and sell them a spaghetti recipe. But that person, because they got an answer to their question, is not going to jump on unless that recipe is like delicious. They're not going to jump onto social and say, "Hey, here's how to cook spaghetti." It just doesn't work. Keyword driven content answers questions and brings people to you, but it doesn't inspire them to share most of the time. Thought leadership content inspires people to share, but it's not really good at bringing them to you when it comes to search engines. Because remember, search engines are all about answering a question. Every single search that goes into Google has a question behind it, and if you really want to rank your content, you're going to create content that is answering those questions. So let's go down here and see if you create this content and you're doing it really well and you're optimizing it really well. How come you're not getting a ton of traffic right now? This is the fun part of the conversation, and it's why we do all that we do. I'm going to show you kind of the formula that we use to build all kinds of content. If you're building a brand new website, we're going to use this as an example because everybody's starting at different places. But let's just say you start a brand new website. We're going to talk about it like it's brand new so that you can understand the principles behind this, and then you can implement it depending on where you're at in your domain growth. But let's just say you launch a brand new website. Your root domain is whatever.com. And you launch it. Now, if this is truly a brand new website, then you have virtually zero domain authority. Little history on domain authority. Google a long time ago had this thing called PageRank. It was a score of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, and a brand new domain would have like 1. Twitter, Facebook, Google, they had like 9s and 10s. So it wasn't like, oh, I can shoot up to a 10 really fast. It was a slow going. You know, if you got PageRank number 3 or PageRank 4, you were doing really, really good. 6, 7 was like unheard of, right? Those are huge websites. People started using that to game the system, and they started learning how to fake PageRank. So Google did away with it. Moz, on the other hand, came along and said, we want to match that because that's a good indication. If you go from PageRank 2 to PageRank 3, you know you're doing something right, and you're building domain authority. Your domain is getting a better reputation with Google, in other words. And so Moz came along, and what Moz tried to do is to replicate that with their Moz rank, which is their domain authority score is 0 to 100, not 1 to 10, but 0 to 100. And they try to replicate that. It's not exact science, but they're getting really close so that you can have a signal that says, yes, my domain authority is growing and the reputation of my website is increasing with Google, or it's going backwards. So with your brand new website, I'm going to be using the Moz kind of definition here. Your domain authority is very, very, very low, right? Compared to somebody that's been around for a while, been doing marketing for a while, your domain authority is low. And so your traffic naturally is going to be flat, right? Your traffic is going to be, it's not going to grow as long as your domain authority is down there. So the main thing that we have to ask is, how do I build domain authority? How do I increase it? How do I take my website and give it some more muscle and move it up the search ranking? Well, that's really what content marketing is about. If you do content marketing right, it's about building that domain authority. And so what we do, let's just cover this. When you're launching a brand new website, let's say that you write a brand new blog post, right? And this brand new blog post, it goes live and you have no domain authority, and Google indexes this. They find your brand new blog post. This is one of the things that a lot of people don't understand. They think that, okay, I created a new website, I launched a blog post, I optimized it, I should be hitting number 1 for Google. But it just doesn't work like that, because everybody else in the world is trying to rank number 1 for Google in that term as well. There is no more low competition. Everything is high competition. Of course, some things are more higher in competition, but everybody's competing for everything. You're competing with Amazon. You're competing with people in their mother's basement. You're competing with a bunch of stuff when you start trying to rank online. So when you publish a brand new blog post, Google indexes it, and because you have no domain authority, they have to figure out where you rank from number 1 all the way down to 100 and past that. And so when Google ranks your brand new piece of content, it goes through a thing right here that we call the Google Dance. Um, this is where your pages, it'll jump up to page 1, and then it'll just fall off the map, and it'll come back up to page 10, and it'll fall off the map. It'll come up to page 2, and then it'll drop down to page 25. It goes through this up and down, up and down. And what Google is trying to do, their algorithm is doing a lot of tests so that they can get data and find out of all the other millions of possibilities, where does this new post with no domain authority, where does it deserve to rank? And just for sake of example, let's just say that after you go through the Google Dance, it settles down at, on page 15, about the middle of the page. And that's where your page ends up sitting. Well, of course, nobody gets to page 15 when they're searching. So you're getting zero traffic from that. You might get traffic from automated bots, but when you're ranking on number 15, page 15, you're getting zero traffic, right? So how do we increase that? Well, we got to figure out how do we build domain authority, because domain authority from the root domain is the rising tide that raises all ships. And so what we do is we publish optimized content consistently over and over again, week in and week out, publishing consistently over and over again, week in and week out. And what happens is every single one of these pages right here, when Google indexes it, even though you have like no domain authority, when Google finds a new piece of content and it's not spam and it's not horrible and it's valuable, when it goes to the Google Dance, if they put you up on page 1, they're going to see how many people like clicked on it, read it, how many just bounced off. There's algorithmic things that can judge the value of the content, the length of it, the uniqueness of it, all these different variables. Let's not get too complex, because it's not a complex thing. As long as you're creating value, Google is going to see your page and you're creating great content. They're going to know it's good content. But because you have no domain authority, when Google crawls this brand new blog post, the very first one that you launched, it gives that new page on the internet a tiny drop. I mean, just a tiny drop of authority, right? We call it SEO juice, and SEO juice can be shared and drip down. So let's just say you have like a beaker, and it's a brand new beaker. Google finds it, says, hey, this beaker provides a little bit of value, so I'm going to give it just a little drop of authority, and then it sits it on the shelf, and that beaker has that drop of authority. And you repeat it. You publish blog post number 2 on your brand new domain. It gets a little drop of authority, and you keep publishing consistently week in and week out. Now, the sweet spot that we found at Lean Labs is about 2 posts a week. If you can publish at least 2 posts a week, you'll get some good traction. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But publishing once a week really slows down your growth. So if you can publish 2 a week, you'll see some faster results. But let's just say over 1, 2, 3 weeks, we now have 6 posts. We're going into week 4. That's the 7th post. Every single one of these posts links to the root domain. And because each of these are getting a little drop of SEO juice, Google is dripping down to the root domain, the entire website, a little bit more SEO juice for every page that we create. It's not a lot. I'm talking microscopic here. But as you continue to add, your root domain just gets a little bit more authority. And so every post that you create after the last one has just a slight little more authority with it when it starts. Okay? Hopefully that's making sense. Now, what happens if you start to interlink your post? And we highly recommend this. You should interlink your post as much as possible. So let's say post number 1, because you wrote something that makes sense in post number 3, you go back to post number 1, you edit it, you put in a contextual link to article number 3, and then in article number 5, you link back to it. Article number 6, you link back to it. Article number 7 links to the home. Well, all of them link to the home page. But as you link to this post, and this post is optimized for, let's just say, the term like cross-trainer tennis shoes, for example. As you keep linking, this one's talking about, workout tennis shoes. And when it starts talking about cross trainers, it'll say, hey, here's a page over here that's interesting in cross trainers. This one's talking about, shoes for tennis, but again, it mentions cross trainers and links over here. So what you're doing inside your own content, just isolated in your own little world, as you create content and you're linking back, what you're saying is to Google, this page right here is the page that we think is very informative about cross trainer tennis shoes, right? You're letting Google know that's what this one is about. And as Google gets those signals, it starts saying, hey, this one is really about cross trainers, and it's valuable enough that this website that is producing, even though they're new and they have very low domain authority, they're producing quality content, and this is about cross trainers. So it starts adding a little bit more authority to that page. And as that page gets a little bit more SEO juice, every page that it's linked to gets a little bit more SEO juice as well. It's this sharing thing, and you're adding to the SEO juice shared across all beakers with every piece of content that you're creating. Hopefully that makes sense. So how do you put this on steroids? Well, of course, quality backlinks puts everything on steroids. If you can build quality backlinks. Now, I'll say this. I am not a fan of link building. I hate link building. Everything that we've done, all of that aggregate growth, I'll go back and show you that slide. All of this comes with zero link building. We did zero link building. We didn't email a single person. We didn't guest blog a single time. All of this is straight just publishing and waiting on Google to index. We don't recommend that anymore. We recommend actually promoting. We're going to talk about that later. But this kind of growth comes simply from doing what I'm talking about, which is publishing, sharing, creating high quality content, and then giving Google the signals of that content is an authority on that subject. This content is authority on this subject. And we do that over and over again. However, when you do that, you naturally attract backlinks. But if you want to add some SEO juice, get quality backlinks. And the reason I'm setting this up this way is because years ago, if you wanted to rank, you could go out and buy a backlink package. So you could go to blackhatworld.com. You could go in and, somebody's saying, I'll give you 3,000 backlinks for $29 or something like that. And you pay them $29, and within a few days, you had 3,000 backlinks pointed to your site, and Google, shot all of your pages up that were linked to. Your domain got more authority. But Google has figured out how to do that. And the lower quality site that's linking to you, the less SEO juice they're going to let come through. And if it's a bunch of low quality like directories and stuff linking to you, you could actually end up getting negative SEO juice penalties, right? And so one quality backlink from a site with high authority, from like a HubSpot.com or a Forbes.com, even though Forbes is no following their links, they're still valuable links. But something from a high value site is going to bring you so much more SEO juice than a bunch of spammy links, right? So if you can go out and you can get an article published on HubSpot.com that allows you an article back. We've done this for Lean Labs. We've published on HubSpot.com before. I've published an article on DigitalMarketer.com. I've got some on Business B2B Insider or something like that. I've done it a few times, but it's more along the lines of I wanted to publish on that platform, not necessarily link building. However, those links do help a lot. But as you get a backlink from someone with high domain authority and it comes to one of your pages or your root domain, that's a lot more SEO juice. So suddenly, now it's not just all your internal little isolated island, but now you've got external signals coming in and adding SEO juice to that beaker. And as a result, a little bit more gets forwarded to this page, a little bit more gets forwarded to the root domain, and you start sharing that SEO juice with your site. And then you come along and you start getting SEO signals. Social signals. So people start sharing your content on Twitter, and then they're commenting on it, they're liking it. People are sharing it on Instagram. People are sharing it on Facebook, commenting, liking. All of the signals that come with social signals. And when you get, this page here gets 400 likes on Facebook or LinkedIn, well, Google values social signals as well, because if this is getting all kinds of action, in Google's eyes, this page is, got to be worth something. And so SEO juice starts coming from the social signals that are sent to it as well. And so this page suddenly is increasing, and it passes on to the root domain, and then whatever other pages it's linked to gets a little bit of that. It's this ongoing ongoing building. So as a whole, let's look at it like this. As you're publishing, let's say you go through 12 months doing this, you get some backlinks over those 12 months. You publish consistently 2 times a week throughout the first year. And you've created some very high value anchor pages. So these are pages that are, let's say you're, for Lean Labs, we're in marketing, right? So email marketing is a big discussion for us. We have a page that's like the center of all of our email marketing links. We have, a page, you can call them pillar pages around, HubSpot. We've got a bunch of anchor content. And then we've got our site pages, right, as well, with growth marketing and growth driven design and stuff. Those become anchors for all of our links. And so all of our content is sending links mainly to the anchor pages. And as we add SEO juice to all of our content here, the anchor pages are getting are getting more domain authority, SEO juice. And as a result, the root domain gets an aggregate of all of this. Now, what happens after 12 months? Remember, we go back to this slide here. When you publish your very first blog post, it did the Google dance and ended up on page 15. But now you've been publishing for 12 months, your domain authority has increased. And now when you publish a new blog post in month 13, it starts with more domain authority, right? It starts with more SEO juice because your root domain started with 0 last year. Now it might have an SEO, domain authority of 20. And so naturally, the blog post that you publish brand new with an SEO, with a domain authority of 20, is going to have a little bit more weight behind it than the blog post that you posted when it was a brand new website. And so now it goes through the Google dance, and maybe your brand new post ends up on page 4 to start instead of page 14. And then it starts on page 4 and it starts increasing over time. The great thing about this is that what you'll see if you do this consistently is that your traffic begins to go up and to the right, just like I showed you in our chart before, because this is a compounding game. So think of all of the content that you're creating is pushing SEO juice to your root domain. All of the backlinks that come in are pushing SEO juice to your root domain. All the social signals are coming in are pushing SEO juice to your root domain. And as a result, your root domain is pushing SEO juice to all of its sub pages. So it's the rising tide that raises all pages. And how you see this kind of manifest itself and why you see traffic go up and to the right is if you publish 2 times a week for a year, for 12 months, you've got what, 108 or 104 blog posts live now. The Pareto principle absolutely it absolutely fits because you're going to have 20% of your posts that just took off and did amazing, and then you're going to have 80% that there's some laggards, there's some that are absolutely just tanking and doing nothing because maybe the keyword was a little bit more competitive, whatever the issue is. But I have actually seen a blog post that was doing 20, 30, 40 visits a month for 3 years, 42 months. And then suddenly that domain authority kicked up a little bit from a backlink or whatever, but the domain authority kind of hit the, that threshold. And then the next month, that blog post, even though it was 42 months old, started doing about 1,000 organic searches a month coming to the website from that old blog post. And the reason why is because over time that domain lifted it up and it got enough SEO juice. All the other variables in play, but this is just the simplified way of looking at it. All that other SEO juice caused that post to then climb above the competition and it started ranking number 1. And so that's why consistency is the key. And optimizing is the key. Publishing, optimizing, and and doing it consistently is really the secret. It's a simple formula. Publishing, optimizing, and doing publishing, optimizing, and doing it consistently. So let's look at how do we then, if this is the principle, the domain authority building it, if that is the principle, how do we put that into practice? Right? How do we actually get that going on our website so that we can start to build a traffic chart up and to the right. So let's look at this. Is overly simplified, but I promise you this is what builds your traffic. It's this. Let me move myself out of the way here. I'm just going to go full desktop so you can see this. This is the simple traffic formula. You do keyword research and you do it really well. You find your root keyword targets and that becomes your anchor page. You find your long tail keyword targets. That becomes your content that you publish consistently. Blog content, YouTube content, podcast, all of that you publish consistently. And as you get backlinks, as you get social signals coming in, the domain authority, all of this begins to grow, and it just cycles through. The more domain authority, the more that you start with, you cycle through. This is really as simple as it is. You discover problems, you solve those problems in content, you optimize that content for the search that the person had back here, and then you do that consistently, and you'll get massive organic traffic. It's really that simple. You discover problems, and with every one of those problems, there's going to be a Google search attached, right? And you solve it with content. Now, here's the deal when you see competition out there. I recently, this is going to be a funny story, but I recently took my car in to get it fixed. My wife was driving on the interstate. Somebody wasn't paying attention, rear-ended her, and the back was all dented in. So we took our car in to the shop to get it fixed, and they had it for like a couple weeks. When we got it back, everything was fixed. When we got it back, I noticed that the seat was moved. The driver's seat was moved, which was really confusing to me because they were working on the bumper in the back. But it was the driver's seat was really high and really far forward. Like I could move it all the way back as far as it would go, and it would be like way up on the steering wheel, and the seat was raised so high that I had to drive like hunkered way down. It was so uncomfortable, and I could adjust it, but when I would pull the seat forward, it would almost the front seat would like start squishing into the dash, and I was like, man, this is a power seat. But they had to have taken it out and put it in, and just like there's got to be an adjustment or something that they did wrong. So I did all kinds of Google searches on how to adjust a power seat in this car, and every result on the first page, which was frustrating to me, every single result was how to work the little electronic trigger thing. It's like, move it forward, you push it forward. It's like, duh, who doesn't know how to do that, right? That's not what I want. I want to know how to adjust the seat. And nobody answered that question. I eventually discovered what it was. There was a short in the thing, and if you pushed it just right, because it was raised so far forward, it felt like it was, so high, felt like it was so far forward, but once I pulled it back down to regular height, it felt right. So the shop didn't mess it up. It was just a short in the thing. But the point behind that story is that when you see other content that's ranking, you should look at it and say, okay, I understand the search intent. Are these addressing that search intent as well as they could, as well as could be, right? And if not, how can I jump in and answer that question? Because if you do that and everybody else is addressing the wrong question, you can rank really fast. But if everyone else is kind of addressing the question, how do you add more value? You've got to look at the pages that are ranking and create content that's a little bit better than that. But when you discover the problem, there is a search attached to that. That's where keyword research comes in. Whatever the problem is, you're going to find keyword data around it. And the more common the problem and the more hard to fix, the more keyword data that you're going to get. And then when you know the problem and you know the keyword that they're using to find the answers to that problem, or at least search for the answers for that problem, then you can solve it in your content. And when you solve it in your content, that's step number one. But then you have to tell Google, this is the solution to that problem that people are searching for. That comes to optimization. And if you publish and optimize, publish and optimize, publish and optimize, over and over again. Just let that be your lifestyle from now on. You're going to find a problem, you're going to publish to solve that problem, and you're going to optimize that content to rank for the search terms of people searching to answer that problem. You will get massive organic traffic. So the question then is, well, how do I find the questions? How do I understand intent? And the big one is, how do I do keyword research that's really going to reveal these insights? Well, that's going to take place next Wednesday. I'm going to walk you through keyword research. This one is fun. This is probably one of my favorite ones. The secret sauce behind free Google traffic. If you want to sign up for that one next Wednesday, there's the bit.ly link right there. You can go sign up for that, and I'm gonna like bring in my whiteboard, and I'm going to show you exactly how to think about keyword research, how to do keyword research, because it's not about just building a database of all these keywords that you found on SEMrush or Google, but it's about taking that and extracting the things that you need to extract from it, so that you can turn the keyword data into a content strategy. So we're going to talk about the secret sauce behind free Google traffic, which is keyword research. I'm going to walk you through how to do that, and also the easy process of how to optimize every piece of your content. That's going to be the big discussion next Wednesday, same time, 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. You can sign up with that link. I'm actually going to jump into I'm going to do this. Now I'm about to answer questions. Actually, I'll go to that slide real quick. Question and answer time. If you have any questions, let me know. As you are typing in your questions, I'm going to go to get that link, and I'm just going to paste it into the YouTube chat here. Let me see here. All right, now I can come over here. I can paste that in. So if you don't want to go to the bit.ly link, you can just follow that link that I put into the YouTube chat. If you're on our website and not on YouTube, just jump over to the YouTube link, and you can put that in there. I'll also be sending out an email of how you get to that as well. But next week is going to be a lot of fun. Keyword research. Everybody thinks that they understand this, but I rarely find people that do it really well. And so I think it's going to be fun to watch kind of the principles behind keyword research that we use. So that's next week. If anybody has any questions and you're on YouTube, you can put them into the YouTube chat and I will answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here for a few minutes and everybody can watch me smile. If you don't have any questions, this is really the end of it. Make sure you sign up for next week's workshop. We're talking about keyword research. If you have any questions, go ahead and enter them into the YouTube chat. I will sit here and wait for a few seconds. If there are no questions, then we can just end this. Thanks everybody for watching. This is the first time that we've tried. I've done this, and we're streaming with OBS. It's going to get better as we go. But one of the things tried to do, maybe this transition got a little annoying for you, but we've got the widescreen view. I've got the desktop view. We've got the kind of news anchor view with the box beside me, the gamer view. But we're going to make this a whole lot more exciting as we go. We're going to bring on some guests. These live trainings are going to get a lot of fun. Doesn't look like we have any questions today. So tune in next week. We're going to be talking about keyword research and then how to optimize every piece of your content. And that's going to be a lot of fun. It's at noon Central Time next Wednesday on the 24th, I believe. No, the 21st of August. We look forward to seeing you there. Until then, come follow us at Lean Labs, and we'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Let's see.